Now, if you took a picture of your current situation, how would you evaluate your relationship with money? Do you think you have enough abundance and you know how to generate channels of abundance? Or rather you have problems of scarcity of money, or perhaps you don't have scarcity but you don't know how to easily create large flows of money towards you? Now, there is something that doesn't lie in life, and that is the results that we have. We can take millions of actions towards some goal, but the information that really tells us whether any of these actions is working or not is the factual results we have. Now, for example, I have a client who tells me that she knows how to make money and that she has a very good relationship with it. And indeed, she manages to make a lot of money with just a few transactions. But when she looks at her accounts and she really sees it carefully, she doesn't have any savings, she doesn't make any investments, and she barely reaches at the end of the month. Now, that is not healthy, and that is not an actual healthy relationship with money. Now, let's be honest. The lack of money in the account generates stress, and it puts us in a vulnerable position. Now, a person who makes a lot of money but loses it easily is probably because he or she has a program that prevents the person from retaining and capitalizing money. I have another client, for example, who came to me, to my coaching session, because he had a very clear financial objective. He wanted to double his active income and to generate constant stream of passive revenues. Now, the financial clarity was there. His financial mindset was quite flexible. He knew that he could make more money and that his financial abundance was not conditioned to his salary, but on the activation of other income channels. By the way, if none of these terms sounds familiar to you, I invite you to watch episode 6 where we talk about how to create abundance, and I already gave you the first tip for this in that episode. Now, going back to my client, we created a 6 to 8 month sustainable plan with frequent follow-up, and he achieved his abundance creation goals smoothly. A year later, he called me again because he had another financial objective. This time, he wanted to triple his income and to solidify his capitalization strategy. Now, today, he is a great example of a client of how a healthy relationship with money and a solid strategy for creating abundance actually allows you to expand your financial possibilities. Now, it's true that we are all different and we have different levels of financial abundance for the simple fact that each one of us has a different and unique life story. And with that story, we have anchored some natural patterns that have defined the relationship that we have with money until now. Now, all these patterns are very unconscious, but I promise you that they can be changed from the moment we become aware of them. Now, I would like to delve into this subject of this story that you have with money. So let's start with the first question. How was the environment in which you grew up? Was there a lot or rather lack of money in it? And how this environment affected you? Now, one thing here, the environment where you grew up does not condemn your relationship with money. I have many examples of clients and friends who grew up with financial difficulties, and those conditions prompt them to create much more, and they have become really intelligent in the management of money. So today they have very well anchored abundance programs and systems. Now, on the contrary, I know people who grew up in very healthy environments, wealthy environments actually, but they associate money with family problems, divorces, unfair property separations, and even fights over inheritance. Now, they do not dare to spend consciously or unconsciously because they see money as a problem. Now, it's not that if you grew up with money, you automatically have a good relationship with it. And if you didn't have money, then you're doomed. No, it depends on your perception of that story and how did your environment mark you. Second thing, how do you refer to money? What programs do you have associated with money? Now, for this, you can observe what words you use when you talk about money. Now, if you say a lot, I don't have money for this, oh, that costs a lot of money, or I feel like traveling, but it costs a lot of money, In this case, you're talking with limiting programs. From the moment there is a but, and that but is money, you're not creating the possibility of generating that cash, but rather you're immediately eliminating the possibility of doing what you would like, and thus you get rid of the problem of lacking of money. But you're not resolving your relationship with money. You're not creating expansion. You're allowing the current financial situation to condemn your actions. If, on the contrary, you want to do something and you know that you deserve that something, and you say to yourself, I can afford this, I can deal with this situation, or money always comes to me, it means that you open up to the possibility and you have a positive program with money. Now, third thing, spend, preserve, or capitalize. Now, finally, another indicator for your relationship with money is the flow that you allow it to have in your life. Now, spending money without limits does not mean that you have a good relationship with money. And neither is to preserve it excessively by leaving your money parked in a bank account. Now, a good relationship with money exists when you understand that money is energy, and like all energy, it needs to flow. There are things in which you should enjoy spending. There are moments in which you should find peace in preserving. And there are moments in which you should be able to find excitement in risking some money to invest and capitalizing intelligently. Now, I have a friend who's very tight with money. And when he spends on things he really likes, he always says, oh, it really hurt to pay for this. That's not a good sign. It shouldn't hurt to spend on something that is good for you. And it also shouldn't hurt to save money simply because you wisely decided not to spend that money on something that it doesn't really add much value to you. That's a smart decision. And it shouldn't hurt when you lose some money on an investment that leaves you with a huge learning outcome that will allow you to do better next time. It's not a problem. Money flows. It comes and goes. And if you have a good relationship with it, I assure you that it will always come back to you when you need it the most. Now, for this and more information on this topic, follow this channel and continue programming yourself for success. I'll see you in another episode.